number 32. We want to add or subtract each expression here. So we have 5v over v minus 5 plus 5 over 2. We need to figure out first, what is our least common denominator? Well, we have a v minus 5 and we have a 2. So it's going to be 2 v minus 5, or v minus 5, 2. Now, this was a little different than what we did afterwards, because this was the first thing we did. There's not actually an equal sign in this initially, right? So I'm actually going to work down and keep that equal sign out of it for you. So we had to figure out, comparing the LCD to this, what's it missing? Well, this has a 2, this doesn't, so this whole thing has to get multiplied by 2. Looking at the second one, what is this missing? This has a v minus 5, so this whole second one has to get multiplied by v minus 5. So we have on the top here 10v over 2v minus 5 plus, on the top, 5v minus 5 over 2v minus 5. And I know some of you are going to be really tempted to cancel some stuff out here, but don't do it yet, because we have to add the whole thing together. If you cancel this, you lose your common denominator, right? If you get rid of these two, you don't have anything there, and now you don't have a common denominator anymore. We multiplied by these so that now we have on the bottom 2v minus 5. On the top, we'll have 10v plus, we can distribute this, 5v minus 25. So that ends up, when we combine our like terms, we'll have 10v plus 5v is 15v minus 25 over 2v minus 5. Okay, if we had gotten rid of this up here, we wouldn't have a common denominator. We couldn't do any of that stuff. So make sure that you don't go cancel crazy up on top. All right? I'm going to go over here for number 34, because it's the same set of directions, and I don't want to waste too much paper. It says 5 over 3 minus 4x over 6x squared plus 9x. So right away you should ask, what is my LCD? Well, it looks like we can factor this a little bit, because there's an x and an x, a 6 and a 9, so I can pull out a 3, and I'll have, I can pull out a 3x actually, because there's an x and an x. So we can pull out a 3x, and I'll be left with 2x plus 3. So my least common denominator, well, they both have the 3 out in front here, and then this also has an x and a 2x plus 3. So comparing these, this first one needs to get multiplied by x, 2x plus 3. And this second one actually doesn't need to get multiplied by anything, because this is exactly the same as the least common denominator. So on the top here, we're going to have 5x, 2x plus 3, over 3x, 2x plus 3, minus 4x over 3x, 2x plus 3. Again, don't go cancel crazy over here, because it will, whoops. Sorry about that. That was one of you calling me. If you go cancel crazy here, you're going to lose your common denominator again. So, when we bring this together, we're going to have 5x times 2x plus 3 minus 4x over 3x times 2x plus 3. I got my x there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and distribute this, and we can actually, we can leave the bottom how it is. So we'll have 5 times 2 is 10, x times x is x squared, plus 5 times 3 is 15 with an x, minus 4x. Still over 3x times 2x plus 3. We can combine our like terms here. 15x minus 4x will leave us with 11x, and we have 10x squared out in front, plus 11x over 3x times 2x plus 3. If you got to here, you'd be doing pretty darn good. If you got one step further, you'd be doing the best though. If you notice that on this top here, you have an x squared and you have an x, so you can pull that out in front. So you could actually pull an x out in front and make it 10x plus 11 over 3x times 2x plus 3. And then if you can see right here, we can cancel our x's out. So our final answer should be 10x plus 11 over 3 times 2x plus 3. Okay, so that's number 34. I'm going to turn the page one more time. For number 36, the directions for this are solve each equation. Remember to check for extraneous solutions. So 36 says 3 over n minus 5 equals 1 over n plus 2 plus 6 over n minus 5. Okay, I don't see anything I can factor there, so we should right away go and find our LCD, our least common denominator. We have an n minus 5, and I'm just going to work my way through the denominators here. So n minus 5, got it. N plus 2, got it. N minus 5. Oh, I already have that one, so I don't have to put it in again. Once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and multiply everything, all of them, all three terms here, by n minus 5, n plus 2. 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 And now I can go through and cancel. These are all on the top. Notice I wrote them all on the top. So this n minus 5 cancels with this n minus 5. And I'll have 3 n plus 2 equals n plus 2 and n plus 2 can cancel. I'll have a 1 and an n plus 5. Oops, n minus 5. Plus, I have my 6 here. My n minus 5's cancel, and I'm left with another n plus 2. From there, it's back down to just a multi-step equation. So I'm going to distribute everything. So I'll have 3n plus 6 equals n minus 5 plus 6n plus 12. Combine like terms on the same side of the equal sign, nothing over here. 3n plus 6 equals, I have an n, and I have a plus 6n, which gives me 7n. I have a minus 5 and a plus 12, which gives me plus 7. Go ahead and keep on solving. Minus 3n, minus 3n. So 6 equals 4n plus 7. We want a minus 7, minus 7. So negative 1 equals 4n. Divide by 4, divide by 4. And I will get n equals either negative 1/4, which you can leave it like that, or you could write it as negative 0.25. Either one of those works. Okay. When they say check for extraneous solutions, you just want to make sure that whatever numbers you get down here don't make the whole thing undefined. So negative 1/4 doesn't make this equal 0, doesn't make this equal 0, and it doesn't make this equal 0, so we're all good. So that's number 36. We slide this up a little bit, and we can move on to number 38, which is r plus 6 over 2r equals r minus 3 over r plus 1 minus r squared plus 2r minus 3 over 2r squared plus 2r. So, first thing we want to do, well, we have a little bit of factoring we can do here before we can find our LCD. So what we want to do is go ahead and factor this top. So r squared plus 2r minus 3, can't pull anything out. but I can change it into my two binomials. Factors of negative 3 are 1, or factors of 3 are 1 and 3, that's it. Second one is a negative, so we know our signs are going to be different. First one's a positive, so the bigger number has to be the positive one. So r minus 1, r plus 3. On the bottom here, we can also factor some stuff. We have a 2 in each one, so we can pull out a 2. We have an r in each one, so we can pull out an r. And what we'd be left with, 2 divided by 2 is 1. Don't even have to write it if you don't want to. R squared divided by r is r to the first. Plus 2r divided by 2r, anything divided by itself, is 1. So looking at our LCD, just going through the denominators, 2r, r plus 1. We already have our 2r, we already have our r plus 1, so that is our whole LCD right there. I'm going to rewrite this to make it look a little easier. R plus 6 over 2r equals r minus 3 over r plus 1 minus r minus 1 r plus 3 over 2r r plus 1. Okay, so I'm going to multiply everything now by the LCD. Multiply this one by it, multiply this one by it, multiply this one by it. And it is 2r, r plus 1, 2r, r plus 1, and 2r, r plus 1. Now remember, the reason we did that for both 36 and 38 is so our denominators are going to be gone now. Our 2r's cancel here, so we have 2r and r plus 6. Oops. Good thing I'm checking myself as I go. We have r plus 1 and r plus 6. That's why I circle them. Equals r plus 1 cancels here, r plus 1 cancels here. We have our 2r and our r minus 3 minus 2r, r plus 1 all cancels, and I just have r minus 1, r plus 3. Alrighty, so got some more crazy stuff to do. We have two binomials here and two binomials here that we're going to FOIL. So our firsts, r times r is r squared. Our outers is r times 6, so plus 6r. Our inners are 1 times r, so plus 1r. And our lasts are 1 times 6, so plus 6, equals. I can distribute here. 2r times r is 2r squared, minus 2r times negative 3, so 2r times negative 3 is negative 6r, minus, I'm going to leave this in parentheses because it's a minus sign, I'm going to have to distribute it afterwards. Our firsts, r times r is r squared. Our outers, r times 3 is plus 3r. Our inners, negative 1 times r is minus 1r. And our lasts, negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Okay, again, I put this in parentheses because it's a minus, so you have to distribute that all the way through to all four pieces there. So I'm going to have r squared plus 6r plus 1r plus 6 equals 2r squared minus 6r minus r squared minus 3r plus 1r plus 3. And if you wanted to combine like terms there before you did that, you could have. I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms on the same side of the equal sign. Here we have plus 6r plus 1r. So I'm going to have r squared plus 7r plus 6 equals, I have 2r squared minus r squared, so that's 1r squared. I have minus 6r minus 3r plus 1r, minus 6 minus 3 is negative 9, plus 1 is negative 8r, and then back on the end here I have my plus 3. In order to solve a quadratic, which is what we have here, we need to get everything onto one side. So I'm going to do my minus 1r squared, minus 1r squared. Oh my goodness, look what happens there. They all cancel, so we don't have any quadratics left. So I have 7r plus 6 equals negative 8r plus 3. I'm going to add 8r, add 8r. I'm going to have 15r plus 6 equals 3. I'm going to minus 6, minus 6. Bring it up here for you. I'll be left with 15r equals negative 3 divided by 15. And if you put that into your calculator, you'll get r equals, as a decimal, I think it's 0.2, negative 0.2. Yep, negative 0.2, or if you have it as a fraction in lowest terms, it's negative 1 over 5. Okay? Again, check for extraneous roots back in the beginning. So if you plug negative 0.2 into any of these denominators, it does not make it undefined. Almost to the end. 2 more questions left. Number 40. These are the ones that are not too difficult. We have 2 over 9 over a squared over 4. And it says simplify each expression. So this is a complex fraction. We want to look at the 2 small fractions here and say, okay, what is my LCD? Well, on the top I have a 9, on the bottom I have a 4, so it will be 9 times 4. And if you want to write it like 9 times 4, you can. If you want to write it as 36, you can also, but it makes it a little tougher to see when you're canceling. So I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom by my least common denominator. So I'm going to multiply this by 9 and by 4. I'm going to multiply this by 9 and by 4. And then you can cancel stuff. So my 9 cancels here. And on the top, I'm left with a 2. And I'm left with a 4. On the bottom, the 4's cancel. I'm left with a 9. And I'm left with an a squared. Okay, so that should leave us, if we simplify that one step further, 2 times 4 is 8 over 9a squared. And I'm sorry, my 9's do look like a's. I can't do anything about that. It's a terrible, terrible thing. 42, last one. A little more difficult though. It says a over 2 plus 1 over 8 over 1 over 2 minus 4 over 5. Now we can't factor anything. We can't add because on the top we don't have a common denominator. On the bottom we don't have a common denominator. Some people were thinking that you could just change this into a big division problem, but you can't do anything with these. Okay? You want to go with your LCD. When in doubt, go with your LCD. So just going through the small fractions. Looking at this first one, we have a 2. Go to the next one. The next small fraction, we have an 8. Going to the next one, we have a 2. Oh, we already put that though. And going to the next one, we have a 5. Now, that 8 could be broken down into 2 and 4, make it a little simpler. I'm just going to show you through this way so that you can see if you do something like this, you just have to cancel a little more at the end. So I'm going to multiply through each one of these by 2 times 8 times 5. By 2 by 8 times 5. By 2 by 8 by 5. By 2 by 8 by 5. So this first one, our 2's cancel. I'm left with 8 times 5 times a plus. Now the second one here, our 8's cancel. I'm left with 2 times 5 times 1. We don't even have to write it. On the bottom, my 2's cancel. I'm left with 8 times 5 times 1. Don't even have to write it. Minus. Over here, my 5's cancel. And I am left with 2 times 8 times 4. So do some multiplying out here. I'll have 40a plus 10 over 8 times 5 is 40 minus 2 times 8 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. 40 minus 64 is negative 24, so I will have 40a plus 10 over 24. Negative 24. If you look at this top now, because we didn't have this as simple as possible, you'll notice that 40a plus 10, you can pull something out of that. 40a plus 10, you can pull something out of that. It ends up being a 10. We can pull a 10 out of this. So I have 10 times 4a plus 1 over negative 24. Well, we can cancel this a little bit so that we end up with a 5 here and a negative 12 here, because 2 goes into both. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Make sure I'm still on the screen here. Yep. So I will have 5 times 4a plus 1 over negative 12. Okay, that's not exactly what I had in the beginning. What I had in the beginning is when I distributed this back out. So I end up with 20a plus 1 over, and you should never have a negative on the bottom, so I can actually move that up onto the top also. 20a plus, when I distribute that, it's a 5 over 12. You should try and get that negative out of the bottom. And if you distributed that, it would be negative 20a minus 5 over 12. Okay, so these last couple steps here all happened because this wasn't actually the least common denominator, it was just a common denominator. That does it. There is a 43 and a 44, but again, I don't have them with me right now, so we can go over those in class if you have a question. It was solving rational inequalities where you had to make your number line, find your values, pick a number in each one, and then decide whether it worked or didn't work, and shade in the appropriate directions. If you have any questions, ask me in class on Tuesday, or as always, you can give me a call. Thank you very much.